I moved into the apartment for two reasons. It was cheap, and it was silent. Almost too silent. The kind of oppressive quiet that presses against your eardrums in the middle of the night, making you question the sound of your own breathing. The landlord seemed nervous when he handed me the keys. His eyes darted everywhere but my face, and his hand shook slightly. He only said one thing, his voice barely a whisper. If someone knocks after midnight, don't open the door! I just laughed it off. An old building? A quirky landlord? Probably just some local superstition? The first night passed without a sound. The second was just as peaceful. But on the third night, at exactly 3:17 a.m., I heard it. A knock? It was slow and deliberate. 3 soft taps. Not loud, not weak, but measured, as if whoever was on the other side knew I was awake and listening. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I grabbed my phone, hoping for a distraction, a notification, anything, but there was nothing. Just the glowing screen and the suffocating silence of my apartment. Holding my breath, I waited. The knock came again. Same rhythm, same unnerving patience. I tried to reason with myself. It was probably just another tenant on the wrong floor. Maybe someone who'd had a little too much to drink. I crept towards the front door, my feet silent on the cold floor, and pressed my eye to the peephole. The hallway was empty, dimly lit, and completely deserted. But the knocking continued. This time, it felt closer, somehow louder. My stomach twisted into a knot. Then, a voice followed the knock. It was soft, eerily familiar. Open the door! You're already too late! My blood ran cold. The voice, it sounded exactly like mine. I stumbled back from the door, a wave of dizziness washing over me. My hands were freezing, my mouth instantly dry. I hadn't spoken, hadn't even whispered, yet the voice outside had perfectly mimicked my own tone, every slight inflection, every subtle pause in breath. And then, as suddenly as it began, the knocking stopped. Silence returned, but it was no longer peaceful. It was heavy, watchful. I didn't sleep a wink that night. The next morning, I saw my neighbor from across the hall. I tried to sound casual as I asked him, "Hey, sorry to bother you, but did you hear anyone knocking on my door late last night?" His face went pale. He stared at me for a long moment before slowly shaking his head. "You heard it too?" he asked, his voice trembling. Before I could even begin to process his question, he slammed his door shut. That night, the knocking returned, but earlier this time, 2:46 a.m. And it was different. It was aggressive, faster, filled with an impatient anger. The voice wasn't whispering anymore. It was a harsh demand. "Open the door! I know you're inside." I clamped my hands over my ears, trying to block it out, but the sound was everywhere. It seemed to vibrate from the walls, from the floor, from deep inside my own chest. Then I heard something else, a scratching sound. Not on the door, but from behind it. The chilling sound of fingernails dragging down the wood, searching for a way in. I screamed at it to stop, to leave me alone. A laugh echoed back, a distorted version of my own. On the third night of this torment, the knocking didn't come from the front door. It came from my bedroom wall, right behind my head as I lay frozen in bed. 3 taps. Slow, careful. With each knock, the plaster on the wall bulged slightly, as if something on the other side was pressing against it, learning my shape. A thin crack appeared in the paint. Then, a finger pushed through. It was gray and skeletal, with a broken nail, bending at an impossible angle. I ran. I didn't grab my keys, my wallet, nothing. I just ran out of the apartment, down the stairs, and onto the street, not stopping until the cold night air burned my lungs. I finally turned back and looked up at my window. The lights in my apartment were on. And there, standing in the frame, was a silhouette, a figure watching me. As it stepped closer to the glass, I saw its face. It was my face, but the eyes were empty, hollow, black pits of nothingness, and it was smiling. The police found my apartment unlocked the next morning. There were no signs of a break-in, No damage. No fingerprints other than my own. They asked me a lot of questions, but there was one that made my blood freeze in my veins. If you were outside all night, then who answered the door? I don't stay in one place for very long now. I move from city to city, never getting too comfortable, because sometimes, late at night, no matter where I am, I still hear it. 3 slow, patient knocks, and a voice that sounds exactly like me, whispering from the other side.